Okay, back to CSS, now that I have given my head a shake, sorted my life out, and remembered what I'm doing. So this is where we left off, apart from I've moved my table inside my div tag with my text, purely and simply because it looks tidier in there when we've done the rest of the laying out. So, I'll give that for a minute. Let's have a look. So first off, for Christ's sake, there we go. So first off, let's give ourselves some space around our website so that when we get the layout right, it's not going to look overly cramped. So at the moment, your div will be set to 100. Now I've turned this down to 70, but I'm actually going to turn it to 80% of the available page. And then I'm going to make it so that this will center everything on the page. So I'm going to set a margin, this, and I'm going to set the margin to auto. And what that does is move everything into the middle, apart from the website name, because I accidentally deleted the div tag that I needed on the outside of it. And now if I refresh that, we've now got everything sat in the middle, but it's all still nicely left aligned, mostly. Now, this is where using our class comes in. So, in fact, we could actually do this using an ID. So to use an ID in HTML and CSS, we use the hashtag, and let's call this layout, for lack of a better word for it. There is our curly brackets, and I'm going to float this layout to the left. Now there's a reason why I've done this as an ID, so technically they should be IDs and that should be a class. Doesn't really make much of a difference, but the reason that I've done this as an ID is so that I can put ID equals, and in the right place I can put in layout, and I can use the exact same option here, put the space in, just copy and paste that straight in there, and I can save that there, and that applies the float left to everything that has the ID of layout. I can also set a margin, and I'm going to set the margin to the right so we don't end up with a massive margin in between our boxes, and I'm going to set that one to 10 pixels. And if I refresh that, it is now floating to the left. You will notice, of course, that it has moved all the way over to the left. We could change the width of that links tab so that it falls in line here, but that's going to be a bit of an issue with changing the size of the page. Or we can put it so that both of these float left relative to a container that will line up with our other two main tags. Very easy to do that. All we need to do is put the div containers we've just edited for our navigation and for our main body of text, put the whole lot inside a pair of div tags. So let's save that, and then when I refresh that, that is now lined up. And what I can do here is I can also look at changing. Let's put the width of this back up to 20 so everything fits on a line. And let's put this one up to 80. When we refresh that, okay, we don't want 80 because I forgot about the 10 pixel border. We want 70. And there we go. That is now laid out as a 2-column website. So that's that bit covered. So now we just need to sort out this so that it enlarges smoothly rather than by jumping. The funny squeaking noises that you might be able to hear is my other cat, Thomas. He seems to think that 2 hours early for asking for his tea is the way forward. So please do ignore the cat if he starts squeaking. Right, so we've got somewhere up here these bits of image tags. And what I did say was that we could get a smooth transition between the sizes. So, unlike I was trying before, I was getting myself all confused. We want to transition. I want to transition the height. And let's transition the height over 2 seconds. I save that, come back here, and I refresh the page. And that is what I was trying to show you before. So far, we've added margins to div tags. We can add margins to anything. What we can also do is add padding. And I am going to go over to CSS so that I can actually show you how these actually fit. Or I would if I could find it again. Where the heck? Ah, there it is. It's not in alphabetical order. So this is what is called the box model, and every single HTML item can be controlled in terms of the margin, the border, and the padding. You've seen this. You've seen the margin, you've seen the border. I will alt tab when I don't want to. The margin is so far what we've got that gap in, and it's what we've used to center our text on the page. We've seen the border, that's what we've got around our table, and that's what we've currently got around our div tags. What we haven't seen yet is the padding. So you might notice that this is sat very, very close to the borders. Our padding is what gives us the gap between the border and the content. So let's just add some padding in, and we'll add it into all of our div tags. Now, as with a lot of these CSS elements, you can set different values for each section of padding. I'm just going to let this boat past. That's smash the wall. This dude is going way too fast. Right, so I've added a padding of 5 pixels. This, and what we will see now, when I go back to this, when I've refreshed, you can now see that there is a gap, and the padding controls the amount of gap. We can also center stuff, float it left, and then center stuff within the floating left. So we can, if I go to our table, in here, let's go margin auto, and let's put the colon in, otherwise it doesn't realise that that's a command. And let's, in our TD tag, put padding in the TD tag of 3 pixels just to add some space. And we'll put a padding in this as well. So we've got a bit of space in there. And we'll just set everything randomly to 3 pixels because why not? So if I save that now, refresh, there you can see the effect of adding margins to things that aren't div tags. You can do the same thing to an image. You can add a border to an image. You can add margins to it. You can add padding to it. But that is the basic layout and the basic way of setting up a web page. From that point, hush, the thing that sounds like a squeaky door, that is my cat, if you can hear that. You've got no chance. You've got like 2 hours until tea time. Not a single chance, cat. Apologies for that. So, once you've got that basic concept, you can set up the rest of the website. A new div tag underneath these end ones before the closing of the body tag, and that will give you a new section that will act as a footer, and that will go across the page. You can change colours in the div tags for backgrounds. So background colour, and we could make this, let's say 3 of those with the hashtag symbol in front of it, so it knows it's a hexadecimal code. Because I have no idea, apart from dark grey, what that will come out as. And that's not where I wanted to put that. I wanted to put that in the link column. And let's say, because that's now going to be light. It's not going to be that light, it's going to be lighter, it should be fine. So let's just save that. Let's make the border 3 pixels solid. And instead of having it white, let's change it to that shade of grey. And this is applying locally on this. Okay, the red looks hideous, but you kind of see where it's going with that. And what I could do to make it less hideous is if I grab that, we'll put that there. In case you're wondering, I'm not Control-C and Control-V-ing this. I am clicking and dragging where I want things. And then if I F5 on that, that looks better. You don't have to have a border. I've put a border on so that we can see what it looks like and where the boxes are. You can then, okay, doesn't like that one. There we go. You can then add borders in, take borders out, however you want. And there are many more effects to borders than I have specified so far. So I've just put ridge in there, and if I refresh that, you can see the way that the ridge border is handled. Dotted, dashed, there are so many that you can do in terms of effects. Now, I'm going to recommend that in order to actually go beyond what I've said to do, and if you want to develop your website beyond something that is quite basic, W3 Schools, it's linked on Unit 28. There's a HTML and CSS. I have given you the basics that you can put in and a couple of whizzy bits with different types of borders and our fantastic now working resizing image. Any questions? Catch me on the course chat.